Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay, and welcome to the Battle for Azeroth beta and the first pass look at the Assassination Rogue, who, when you combine all the different changes across all three rogues, there are a lot of different changes. Outlaw and Assassination have a lot of talent changes, and Outlaws affects them a little bit more than Assassination, because Assassination still just works, right? That's the biggest thing I can say about Assassination Rogue. It just works. Subtlety Rogue has the least amount of overall changes, if you've watched that video already. But a couple of them have outreaching effects on how their builds might be and how you can play the sub-rogue, depending on how Azerite gear, of course, all works out. Same thing with Assassination. However, one major change I'll go over here right at the get-go, but if you would like to, of course, keep up to date on all of the first pass, second passes coming soon, some islands, dungeons, warfronts, that kind of stuff, raid testing when that comes back, hopefully, subscribe right here to the YouTube channel, or link down below in the video description box for my socials, and of course the Twitch live stream where I do all the live testing if you want to be a part of that. The second pass, of course, will be, is it ready for launch kind of a deal? So keep up to date with those if you want to be there for the live version. And, of course, check out the VOD right here on the channel. All the VODs do come out on the first passes. The second passes, of course, will be on Twitch. But Assassination Rogue. I'm sitting here looking at my notes right now to make sure I don't forget about the important bullet points. Assassination. Biggest first bullet point. Your mastery has changed, is now called Potent Assassin, where now it increases the damage done by your poisons and bleeds by the flat mastery amount. On live right now, it's just poisons, which makes it hard to have a bleed build because your mastery scales the other dots. Now, they both will scale as you gain more mastery. And, if you haven't heard yet, all bleeds and poisons across the rogues, same thing for bleeds on feral druids, all scale with haste. So right off the bat, venomous wounds, and you'll see when I start doing some gameplay, feels quite nice. Especially when you actually have 3 or 4 targets all cross dotted with your deadly poison, and you got some garrots and some ruptures going on there. That is really, really, really impactful. Because every time garrote or rupture, or in this case I have internal bleeding, right, which is just the talent, when they tick, you'll gain 7 energy per time, and again, as you gain more haste, they tick faster, giving you even more energy compared to live. There are other changes to other talents you'll find out here that have obviously been tweaked because of this baseline change, but that is the biggest overreaching change to Assassination, is that smoothness factor is definitely a thing, and it has been amplified because of this change. That being said, there isn't really a bleed build anymore, per se. And when I get to talents, I'll show you what I'm talking about. There is, obviously, garrote and rupture. By the way, sidebar, I'm going to say garrote or garrote or garrote or garrot like 17 different ways in this video. Don't freak out. It can be pronounced different ways, okay? Just don't. It doesn't matter, okay? It's just a joke. Don't freak out, YouTube comments, all right? Or if you're freaking out right now, just post that you're freaking out, and then we'll get past it together, all right? But anyway, big update right there. Another big baseline update that's rolling forward from your artifact is Vendetta. Generates 60 energy over 3 seconds. This is up from 2 seconds on live, the Urge to Kill passive. So you're not getting the snapshot energy and then the additional, because like that's way too much, and or you'd overcap anyway sometimes. So it's 60 over 3, and Vendetta is on the global cooldown, but once I start gameplaying stuff, it doesn't feel bad at all because you use it after you bottom out, and then the 60 plus your venomous wounds ticks just feels just fine. Sealed Fate hasn't changed, still means that if you get a double crit mutilate, you get 4 combo points. When you Fan of Knives and get multiple crits on multiple mobs, you get multiple combo points. Same kind of deal you have on live right now. Fleet-footed remains the same, the 15% movement speed and the reduced damage from falling. Other than that, the other baseline changes here, I'm staying in stealth. Shroud has got a crazy buff. It's now 30 yards. So rogue utility though, am I right? But it's 30 yards up from 20 yards, which is kind of ridiculous looking. But the situations where you use Shroud are kind of very few and far between, but it's neat to have that as a updated passive. So a slight poison change has also happened. You still only have one choice in lethal. That is either deadly or where are the poisons? So you have deadly or wound. They are bugged in the tooltips on the pop out here. They say 0 damage and stuff, but that's obviously not the case. They still have the 50% chance to proc, of course, so the envenom window is still a buff to that. Still have crippling poison as your one non-lethal. However, I have leeching poison talented here. What happens when I put leeching poison on? Oh. Interesting that. Leeching poison now doesn't count as a non-lethal poison. It's just a buff. So you can have leeching poison and crippling poison all the time. So great for soloing, islands, warfronts, PvP, that kind of stuff, right? Depending on if you need the extra self-healing or not. So that has been a slight poison change, which is nice. Mutilate's energy cost, let's go over to Mutilate if I can find it, is down to 50 from 55. Slight tweak there. And the other biggest baseline tweak is Garrote at a 6-second cooldown. We got a stealth there. It's a 6-second cooldown now, down from 15. So using it in a pure single target fashion now, and in the cross dot sense, is definitely there. Same exact energy cost though, duration, that kind of stuff, wards 1 combo point, etc. So really nice change overall. So we'll go up here and we'll start slapping some things just to show you what everything looks like, of course. I have a lot of talents that are currently selected that are not going to impact anything that I'm doing, just so you can see like what the energy regeneration looks like. Now, keep in mind, I only have 12% haste now, so I'm not getting a ton of poison and bleed scaling. It's like 0.18 seconds off or something. I don't know. We did the math on stream. It's not a lot. But overall, you still have the... Let me just get in stealth here and do one of these. Do one of those. Sure, you know, why not? One of those again. One of these. Ignore that proc for now, just because it doesn't matter. We'll do a Vendetta. And we'll do one of those. One of these. Get that extra 2 combo points here. We'll refresh. Again, Vendetta is just a flat damage amp during it. Of course, we'll read out the tooltip here in a moment. We got a 4 stack there. I was told many times that you just go 4 or above for Envenoms, because it doesn't really matter a whole lot getting the 5th stack. The 5th stack is mostly there if you get crits, like right like that, right? But you can sort of see with having your 2 bleeds ticking at a slightly faster rate how smooth... Ooh, nice. That should have been a rupture, actually. How smooth the rotation does look. I don't have Vigor selected right now either, which is sort of the set and forget for the Assassination Rogue, of course, which we'll definitely grab in a moment to show you what a full energy-oriented build looks like. But overall, I'm not pooling properly, I suppose, but, I mean, Assassination Rogue and Subtlety have that synergy where they're, or that similarity, rather, where they both do a lot of auto-attacking, basically. Just because a lot of your damage is dots, right? You're basically a melee affliction warlock, kind of. A lot of your damage is passive. Because you put up your dots, and it kind of just happens. Your auto attacks do extra damage. That's still very much the case. And of course, if you do cross-dotting, and again, no talents selected here, of course. Once you get that cross-dot going, get some aggressive Garrotes out there too. Not getting the greatest crits on these 4 target dummies, but that happens sometimes. So you'll see the energy start to skyrocket quite a bit. Yeah, see right there? There it goes. Check out those bleeds out there, and then you'll really notice it. I'll refresh that one. Refresh with a Garrote too. Yeah, there it goes. It's starting to fly off the handle. Once you get 3 or 4 targets dotted up, it is a little bit ridiculous to actually keep up with it. Then you want to spam Envenoms, right? So you get the extra actual auto attack damage and the chance to apply poisons for the instant damage goes up. Whoops. Damn. I don't have any weak or anything to track all these things. Whoops. Damn it. Hit the wrong button. But you see what I mean. The poison scaling because of the haste scaling on poisons and just the poisons, right? That's venomous wounds only happens with the poison ticks, but of course your poison is ticking faster, and of course your bleeds are ticking faster as well. That's still very much there. Good to go. Outside of that, Vanish unchanged, Tricks of the Trade unchanged, Stealth, Sprint remains the same, Shroud, same cooldown, just the range change. Still have one charge of Shadow Step, of course. Sap, Rupture remains the same. Poison Knife still has just applies both of your poisons when you throw the Poison Knife. Very little damage, but it, of course, is your ranged ability, builds a combo point. Pickpocket, Picklock remains the same. Kidney Shot, all the same. Kick. Garrote, again, the 6-second cooldown now. Feint copped a huge nerf, but if you didn't expect Feint to get nerfed, then we're playing a different game. So the AoE DR went down from 50% to 40%. Same duration, but has a 15-second cooldown. This, of course, will affect elusiveness. Cheat Death while we're here is the same. So now you have to actually time your feints better, rogues. You're one of the most defensive specs in the game due to the fact that you have a huge, easy rotational DR and a self-heal. So Vial, Crimson Vial, Bottle is on the GCD as well. But nothing else, of course, matters in that regard, right? So Vanish is not on the GCD, Evasion is not on the GCD, and nor is your Cloak. Cloak copped a 30-second additional cooldown, so now it's a 2-minute cooldown, up from 90 seconds. But Fan of Knives remains the same. Envenom still has the 30% additional chance to the Envenom windows, right? Still lasts for 6 seconds at 5 combo points, 5 or 6 or whatever. But same energy cost on that one. Again, Vial just has the GCD now, which is a 1-second GCD for rogues. Not a huge deal. Cheap Shot remains the same. Blind, also the same. Talent-wise, so you lost Hemorrhage, Shadow Focus, Anticipation, Alacrity, which would have been way too good, Thuggy, and Death from Above. All poof. Replaced and moved around a bit. You have new talents, Master Assassin, Blindside, Marked for Death moved. You have Iron Wire. You have a change to Venom Rush. Still have, of course, Toxic Blade and Exsanguinate. And you have Crimson Tempest, Hidden Blades, and Poison Bomb, as you see there. So I'll go through these real quick. I have Blindside talented right now. Blindside is an Execute. It's a 30% or lower builder. But when you are above 30%, Mutilate has a chance to reset the blind side and make it usable on any target. It makes it free as well. So that's to use at 70%, 100% to 30, so the first 70% of a fight, and then under 30%, you will use it to build. Now, it does only hit one time. However, it is 30 energy, and it does more base damage than Mutilate. It does get less combo points. Obviously, critting will give you 2. But Mutilate's damage per energy is about half that of a Blindside. So Blindside is roughly double the damage per energy cost, even though it's less combo points, but of course only at 30% or lower. That is your Execute. You saw it proccing there quite a bit when I was hitting stuff. There it goes right there. So it also does help the rotation get a little more fluid with that extra combo point you sometimes don't always get. If you get the procs, of course. There is possibly a build that more focuses on this at a very single target window, which is very possible for the Assassination Rogue. But that gives you an option when, of course, you get those procs to weave in the rotation a little bit more, just so the rotation isn't just this all the time. Of course, now that I'm saying that, I'm not getting any. There we go. There's a proc right there. And one of the Venom windows. There you go. So, obviously, again, it only has a 30% chance whenever you cast Mutilate. Not per Mutilate hit, just whenever you cast the spell itself. But again, it becomes fully active when you go below in that Execute window. Elaborate Planning got nerfed by a little bit. It's a 4-second buff whenever you use a finishing move. The only way Elaborate Planning works is kind of in a bleed build, but otherwise it's just kind of not good. That's all I'm going to say about Elaborate Planning. Master Poisoner is unchanged, still 30% more damage on your weapon poison, so wound poison or deadly poison, or increases the effect of the non-damaging one, so it will give you 2% more leech on leeching poison, and gives you 10% more snare on crippling poison. Crippling poison is still a 50% snare, so Master Poisoner takes up to a 60. We'll just go over there and grab that. So 12% leech, 60% snare, and again, more damage on wound or deadly poison, depending on which one you are using. Night Stalker remains the same, so the 50% damage from stealth, and your stealth is a little bit faster when you're in it. This can work for opening burst potential, or you can still, if you're, you're fancy, and part of the bleed build could use this, is that you can still vanish and then rupture, and it will snapshot. That is still a thing. You can still put the 50% damage amp into a rupture, either on the pole or wherever else, right? Otherwise, you could open with a garrote. Otherwise, if you want to open with garrote itself, then you want to use subterfuge, because they still do the double damage garrotes, right? And you can use it for 3 seconds after stealth pops. You can still do one of these, right? You can still do sort of an AoE garrote, which I will, when we're talking about it right now, I will go down to your new, you know what Eternal Bleeding does? Kidney Shot puts a bleed on the target. Good stuff. Again, scales faster with haste. Iron Wire is new, and I want to talk about this with Iron Wire right now because we're talking about garrote. So Iron Wire increases the duration of garrote silence to 8 seconds. By default, it is only 3 seconds. This goes to 8 seconds, and then enemies that are silenced by garrote also deal 15% reduced damage for the 8 seconds. Now, you can silence melee characters. They'll also be able to use abilities, because melee abilities are unsilenceable unless they're caster abilities, but they still reduce their damage. This does not apply to raid bosses. In the next build, I was told, the PvP duration of Iron Wire will be 5 seconds, not a ridiculous 8. 8 seconds of silence plus following up with a 6-second kidney shot would be hilarious for healers, but it'll be 5 seconds followed up by a 6-second stun. So, I mean, oh no, 3 less seconds, you're still gonna die if you get locked down and there's no peel for you, so good luck. Prey on the Weak, while we're down here, has had a nice quality of life improvement. That the cheap shot or kidney shot disabling of enemies, so they have to be disabled, puts a... Whoops, that's the wrong button. Good job. It puts the 6-second long duration Prey on the Weak on the target, regardless of how long they are actually stunned for. And this is all sources of damage are amplified by 10%, so it is sort of a party/raid buff if you can make it happen. So Iron Wire feels very good for PvP. So does Eternal Bleeding, depending on if you're going a bursty bleed build. And then Prey on the Weak is very much a group-oriented buff on top of your stuns. And of course, you can still do the subterfuge thing where you come out of stealth and just spam stun things. That's still very much there, right? So you can do that with Prey on the Weak, so it'd help out like AoE burst pulls or something. I don't know. But nice overall quality of life improvement. Also in your subtlety tier here, in the whole stealth-oriented tier, you have Master Assassin, which is, well, stealth is active, and for 3 seconds after breaking stealth, your critical strike chances increase by 50%. This is basically the legendary shoulders at half power. So in this way, you would want to open from stealth with Mutilate, most likely. Opening from stealth with that extra crit will hopefully give you that juicy double crit to get you 4 combo points. So do one of these. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And then, of course, if you vanish, you get the same effect. So you vanish. That's blind, not vanish. Same effect. So again, it puts vanish back as that DPS button, kind of. Because everyone uses the shoulders right now because of the huge snapshotting burst potential. So Master Assassin is there for that. Versus Subterfuge versus Night Stalker. All have different situational possibilities, different builds. Depends on what you want to do. You can, of course, stealth and then blindside to get those crit blindsides. And again, you can still do the Vanish Night Stalker to snapshot your ruptures as well. Depends on what you want to do. Marked for Death got moved. It's a 30-second cooldown for the Assassination and Sub-Rogue. It's a minute-long cooldown for Outlaw. It is off the global, so don't freak out. It's still off the global, as you saw right there. So it's kind of awkward for Assassination. We talked about it a lot on stream. It almost just feels like 10 combo points a minute. You just kind of hit it. which it does speed up the rotation a little bit. But unless you're getting resets in AoE when you've got all your bleeds out and you've got something with Mark for Death on it and it dies and then you get it back, because it's a 30-second cooldown for both sub and assassination, you can put a Mark for Death out. And then right now, see, I can put another Mark for Death out. You can have 2 Marked for Death targets, and you can Marked for Death juggle. So if this target dies first, it'll reset Marked for Death. You'll put another Marked for Death out. And then if that target dies, it'll reset Marked for Death. Put another Marked for Death out, right? You can juggle 2 Marked for Death. It's only a 1-minute cooldown with the single reset sort of mechanic with Outlaw, because their new Blade Flurry talents, again, if you've watched the Outlaw video, you know, they have a lot of potential with Marked for Death already, with being able to spam their finisher over and over and over again in a 50% almost near passive Blade Flurry. So there's a little bit of a less power they want to give the Outlaw Rogue, but again, 30 seconds for sub and assassination, if that's your fancy. Deeper Stratagem still exists, 5% more damage on your finishers and 1 extra combo point. Probably only going to do good in a bleed build. And then, of course, Vigor, which you're all familiar with. Vigor is the extra energy. Assassination still has the extra 20 energy baseline. So this gives you the 50 extra plus the 10% additional energy regeneration, which if you're stacking more haste now, again, every 10% haste is extra 1 energy per second. So baseline, you have 10 energy per second. Every 10% haste gives you 1 more. Of course, it's all scaling, right? Every 1% haste is 0.1 more energy behind the scenes or whatever. But Vigor, of course, will scale all of that if you're going to be using more haste. Again, why Alacrity was removed, probably because way too good. Way too good. Then we have Toxic Blade. And I will, of course, just grab Poison Bomb here real quick to sort of show you a very just straight up easy single target Master Poisoner, Vigor, Toxic Blade, Poison Bomb build. Toxic Blade remains the same as it is on live, 20 energy, 25-second cooldown, deals initial nature damage, scales with your mastery, and then it puts that 30% 9-second nature damage amp on your target. So of course that will scale with Master Poisoner, scales with your actual poisons, scaled in the Venom window, all that good stuff. Poison Bomb was buffed ever so slightly when it was made a talent, which is weird. Normally talents are nerfed, but in Venom and Rupture, so your finishers, the main 2 major finishers, have a 4% chance per combo point, so 20% without Deeper Stratagem, 24% with, to smash a vial of poison at the current target location, just at your feet, creating a pool of acidic death that deals nature damage, scales with your mastery, over 2 seconds to all enemies within it. So 2 seconds, so it ticks faster. Slightly higher proc chance. This is on live. It's 2.5% per combo point if I am not mistaken. So, oh, I should have opened with, that's the wrong button, Adam. Good job. And there's one right there. Look at that. So we'll do one of these. Put the Venom window up. Probably should have done the other way around, actually. Use, you actually supposed to use Toxic Blade for your 5th combo point. But I wanted to get it in the Vendetta window as well, so a little greedy on that one, I suppose. But you can see, it's obviously going to proc only so often. But when it does proc, of course, with a slightly higher regularity, so we're going to do the other way around now. We have to do this, and then we're going to pool, and that into this, into that, into that, into this. Yeah, there it goes. So you can get those juicy poison bombs on single target in the Toxic Blade debuff window. But overall, Poison Bomb is probably the only real option / passive for your pure single target build, which is probably just fine. Oh, man, that feels good. I was told the increased proc chance is very, very, very welcomed. I would imagine so. There's the 5th stack right there. I didn't pool properly, though, so rip. Oh, well. Do it again. Yeah! Very, very good. Splash it with poison. Very standard, what you're used to right now, but a little faster, again, because the haste scaling. So Toxic Blade is there. Venom Rush is kind of strange. I feel like Venom Rush will only work in a very blindside-oriented single target build, where a Mutilate will refund 5 energy when used against a poison target. This gives you more energy regeneration on the first 70% of a fight, or more energy in the rotation, barely, to make sure you can always aggressively weave the blind sides, because again, it costs energy as well when it resets, or it becomes active, rather sudden death style, right? Warrior style. So that's what Venom Rushes became now. So it basically makes your Mutilate 10 cheaper than you're used to on live, which of course has reaching effects with Vigor. Exsanguinate. So the same thing as you're used to, it's only 100% faster on the bleeds that are on the target, 25 energy, 45-second cooldown. Now again, it kind of feels okay to take elaborate planning in this sense. Again, you want to do the Night Stalker, the whole snapshot thing. People did talk about how you can mark for death on the pull like this now. And what you can do is go Subterfuge instead, because you get the extra increased damage and no cooldown. So you can do this, where again, if you're rolling this bleed build style, you'd be able to, oh, you go mark for death. Whoops. Be able to mark for death, and then open like this, into Vendetta, into Exsanguinate. So this could be a thing. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. You don't want to, I guess showing you that is a good point. You don't want to ever refresh your exsanguinated bleeds before they're done ticking, otherwise you lose the potential of their damage, because it actually sets them back to normal. So don't do what I just did there, right? But so there's possibility here for like a bursty bleed build, right? Maybe. And it scales right now, right? So if you like the bleed build, there could be some workaround here. Elaborate planning is the only real thing up here that will work with your bleeds, because when elaborate planning procs, whenever, of course, you rupture or envenom, you get that 10% flat. So your next couple of ticks of your bleeds, which are going to be faster during sanguinates especially, are going to be harder. You know, they tick harder. So, right? That's about the general consensus from chat today on this build. Let's go back to Vigor. We'll go back to Master Poisoner here real quick. Hidden Blades is the legendary cloak with a slight tweak. A little bit weaker. Every 2 seconds, you gain 20% increased damage on your next Falk, your next Fan of Knives, stacking up to 20 times. So it stacks the same rate, but it only stacks to 20 versus the 30 on live. So this means that it stacks at 40-second intervals to give you that really juicy burst Fan of Knives that you, of course, can utilize with Night Stalker from stealth, or you can utilize it with Vanish and then using it. So a slight single target rotational ability as well, I guess. But again, Hidden Blades will work in fights that you can actually like cleave and cross dot, and it makes sense because then that use of Fan of Knives actually hits kind of hard. So that's there, right there. So not a huge damage change, like a 2000 crit from a 200 plus crit, you know. So it definitely scales up there because it's 400% damage. And again, you can use Night Stalker to amplify that by 50% more from the stealth window or the vanish window. So burstable rotational AoE. And then Crimson Tempest comes back. Lost it. It just kind of disappeared a while ago. I leave Exsanguinate talented here because there may be something here with like a full-on bleed build where you can use Deeper Stratagem to get a 6-point Rupture active, right? So you can do one of these. You can do a 6-stack Rupture and then rebuild. Let's put Vendetta up. And then rebuild to a Crimson Tempest and then Rupture, right? So we're in elaborate planning. You want to rebuild and you want to recast an Venom quickly to get elaborate planning to tick again. So this is the bleed build possibility, maybe. But this, again, I'm not sure if pure single target will matter. Crimson Tempest at Deeper Stratagem 6 is not bad looking currently. But again, I don't know if you'd actually use it pure single target unless you're actually cleaving with it. So maybe it does all come down to numbers, right? And the type of encounter you are working on. But it could be a thing. It could definitely be a thing. It just depends, right? Maybe there's like a crazy verse mastery build you can stack, and it'll actually be worth it. So we'll do another Crimson Tempest. We'll do one of these, and we'll do an Exsanguinate when that comes back around. We'll build again real quick because we want to get that restacked here. One of those. I'm not sure. It's numerical, right? Because again, bleed scale with haste, venomous wounds, master your mastery potent assassin. Maybe. Overall, Crimson Tempest is just a much easier use doing in the AoE window, doing stuff like this. right? Like this is obviously where it's supposed to be done. Because as you crit a whole bunch of targets, get your bleeds out there. Again, elaborate planning works in this way too, but it doesn't feel that powerful. And it does take some time to set this all up so you get the poison sticking with your bleeds. So you can actually utilize the additional energy regeneration to spam your Crimson Tempests. But Crimson Tempest does not work with Venomous Wounds because of obvious reasons. It'd be way too powerful if it did. It's already powerful enough once you get going here. Let's get a Rupture out, or a Garrote out on that one. Re-Rupture. But you basically want to have one dot of this going out at the same time. And unless you get a whole bunch of crits, you're not going to have it active all the time. But I'm not sure. This looks okay. Get that Rupture. If you get lucky with the good crits and you get it rolling, it'll actually roll pretty good. But again, maybe a crit mastery build or something? Crit for AoE and then mastery to scale your bleeds. But that's that. So all three of these have potential with different talent combinations in the level 30 tier and maybe elaborate planning. So there's definitely some options here. But rogues, not to be dismissive, rogues normally have always come down to a whatever Shadowcraft sims say, you spec. For the most part, that's how it's been. Now, legendaries and tier sets obviously greatly impact that. So hopefully, if Azerite armor doesn't overly complicate the math and you actually have wiggle room and you can play a bleed build or play a poison build depending on the encounter, depending on your playstyle, depending on how you like to feel as playing an Assassination Rogue, that is there. But that is the Assassination Rogue. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or comments or how you think the talent changes are, if you're hyped for Crimson Tempest coming back, or just Poison Bomb. Mostly just Poison Bomb. There are very few abilities that feel that good in this game that are those procs. They're just like, ugh. The Poison Bomb timing when you get a Toxic Blade at the same time. Oof. I feel you. That's feeling really good during testing today. So thank you very much for watching. Subscribe, of course, to the YouTube channel if you'd like to keep up to date with all the first and second pass testing and more of my ramblings. Check the video description box below for my socials and, of course, the Twitch live stream where you can watch all of this stuff unravel in front of your eyes and be a part of it. And make sure I know that I'm not missing things. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. Death Knights are now up next because I was holding them back because of the blue post. So I will see you all in the next first pass video.